Welcome to All the Way Up podcast by Jeffrey Mensah. This is the Bar and Beyond series, a platform where we host insightful conversations that push growth, drive ambition, and shape perspectives of young lawyers. Hello, lovely listeners and viewers. I bring to you yet another episode of the All the Way Up podcast by Jeffrey Mensah. Today, I'm shooting all the way from Kumasi, the Garden City, Oseko. And it's a special place for me more so because I was born here. And so it's a special place for a special episode with a very special guest. And I'm so glad that she agreed to have this conversation with me. People, my guest for today is a circuit court judge. And so permit me to introduce you Her Honour Dua-Adonteng Ofori. My lady, a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeffrey.
Yes, so I was tempted to say authorize just before I welcome you, yes. But my lady, again, I just want to say thank you for making time to have this conversation with me. I know we've been having a conversation about it for a while.
That's true.
And so it's exciting to know that finally we're able to.
And it's happening in Kumasi.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. So my lady, we'll start briefly with this question.
Yes.
I want to become a judge.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is the celebration of the number of years starting from the time you joined the bench, or we still celebrate your number of years at the bar?
Yes, we do. There's a requirement of the minimum number of years you have to be before you are either a district, a circuit, or a high court judge. However, of course, you have to also have some number of years experience in addition to the minimum.
Okay.
So assuming, for instance, the circuit court is 5 years, but the requirement this year was for 7 years.
Okay.
I'm 10 years at the bar.
Right.
So of course, I think experience at the bar
it's still relevant.
It's very
relevant.
relevant.
Still celebrating.
Yes.
And so you celebrate the years at the bench as well.
I do. We just had 3 years on the bench in August.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On the bar, 10 years and on the bench as well.
Thank you very much.
And so my lady, we'll just kickstart from the very beginning.
Yes.
Right. What inspires you to choose a career in the legal profession to start with?
Okay, so I was very shy as a child. However, I had a father who was a lawyer.
Okay.
I see him going to work in his robes and his bibs and his gowns, and So I think already, I think I was born. It was inherent. And then as you grow, you realize that okay, I want to make a change in the world as little as it can be. And how can I? And I realize I have an affection for women and children, particularly. Full circle, I'm now working on a gender court.
Wow.
Yes. So one of the things I noticed I was afraid of blood, for example, and that means that definitely I couldn't go into the medical field.
Yeah.
So what other way can I help change the world? And one of them was the law. So I had a father as a role model, and I also had my own deep inherent desire to make a change in the world, and that's where I am now.
Right. That's interesting.
Yes.
So we'll backtrack a bit to your background. Senior high school, junior high school, university. Can you take us through that journey?
Yes. So I started from St. Teresa's School, Kanishi. Then went to Wesley Girls High School, Cape Coast, and then I came to KNUST Kumasi for my LLB.
Okay.
Go to law school, and for education, that's it.
All right.
Yes.
All right. And so we'll dwell on law school just a bit.
Yes.
Right. KNUST for LLB.
Yes.
And then Makola was also the KNUST campus.
Yes, that's it.
Kumasi campus. Sorry, that's what it's called.
Yes.
And so, what was the journey like? I know every lawyer has their law school, unique law school story.
Yes.
All right. What was it like for you? Was it a smooth sail all through? What were the challenges like? How did you surmount some of them? Just take us through
how it went. So I think our year group was the fourth group for the Kumasi campus. Law faculty.
Yeah.
Because prior to us, you had only Legon.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty new. Even the students on campus weren't used to seeing the Blackhawks, us in our black and white, like, you know, you people, why are you wearing uniform? Are you still in secondary school? But we felt so proud because you stood out. Immediately you got out of the shuttle, everybody knew, hey, that's a brilliant child, that's a brilliant girl because she's doing law. You know, so it was exciting. It was very proud for the law students. Us then we were calling ourselves lawyers anyway, even though we had just started. Yes. So and then we go to law school again. Our time was when they started law school in Kumasi, and my dad is a proud Ashanti man.
Right.
He said, I'm going to let you become one of the pay setters. So of course I wanted to go to Makola. When we went for the interview, we started the interview system that you have now at the law school. We didn't write the exams, the entrance exams. Our time, you finish law faculty and your grade will determine whether or not you go to law school. Because you would know if they want to take 200 people, you know, okay, maybe I got a second upper, a second lower. There's a possibility I'm not getting in because there are a lot of people who got maybe first class or upper. Yes. So prior to us, you were probably sure whether you were getting in or not. And then our time, they started the interview. And when we went, of course, they saw the name and they said, oh, Dua-Adonteng, you're coming to Accra. I said, no, Dua-Adonteng, I'm going to Kumasi. And they said, yes, they're happy that everybody is not doing I want to be in Accra. And, you know, there are people who are willing to start. Yes, so quickly they said, yes, you're going to Kumasi. And of course, you know, because it's a baby, it's new, you're going to have people thinking, why did you go to Kumasi? Is it because it was not good enough? But the best student that year came from Kumasi. I was the second best. I think I had 2 awards. I think out of the 12 subjects that we do, 6 came from Kumasi that year. So it made people realize, actually, there's something going on. Yes, and I enjoyed my time thoroughly in Kumasi, both LLB and law school. Yes, I did.
And academics were smooth as well.
Law faculty, believe me or not, I didn't understand very much the rudimentary parts. For a course like contract, you could appreciate it because you do it every time. For a course like torts, but take for instance commercial law. It's a course that you know you are not always, especially the issues on the sea and the, you know, you don't do it, especially as a child, as a student who is barely 18, 19. You don't engage in that aspect of the law. So it's difficult to appreciate what you are being taught. But as you grow and you practice and you experience life, you then appreciate.
That makes sense.
Yes. It falls into place eventually. So yes, I will admit it. Some of the courses was a breeze. Some of them, I'm now appreciating them a lot more. Company law, we were taught very well. But after I became company secretary, I had to issue notices and, you know, AGMs. I'm like, oh, that's what they were trying to tell us.
And so then you realize how simple it's
precisely. So I have my brother-in-law in law school, in law faculty now. It's like, Auntie Sawa, what's going on? I don't even know what they're teaching us. I said, hold on, don't worry. Eventually it will make sense. Just learn as much as you can now. Eventually you realize that it will all fall in place. So
that's amazing. So as you're approaching, I mean, you're studying for the bar. You had law faculty, you moved to Makola. What were your expectations of the profession?
Oh, to be very rich very quickly. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but everybody, I mean, when you hear lawyer, the first thing you hear is wealth and intelligence. I found out that when you say lawyer, people believe everything you say. So you go somewhere with your parents, you go for a funeral, and they say, oh, this is my daughter, she's a lawyer. And, you know, everybody's alert, waiting to hear what you have to say. And then they'll come and say, lawyer, my this, my that. And you just finished law school. You don't even have your results out. And someone is asking you divorce. You're not even married. Someone is asking you, my great-grandfather left me property. And they expect to get a response that makes sense to them. And so immediately you realize that the moment you walk out of law school, people expect you to be a lawyer. And so they don't realize you've not gone through the training to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
They assume the law school was your training.
Exactly.
So come out of law school ready to make a change.
Wow.
And I think that was one of the shocks I had, you know, having to explain things to people who were older than I was, and they were believing what I was saying. So sometimes you give the advice and go back to your books and say, okay, actually,
Did I see the right thing?
precisely.
Did I mislead them?
Yes. So yes. It's yes.
Your voice suddenly carries some weight that
You didn't know you had.
didn't know you had.
That's true. Yes.
And that's very true. But so call to the bar.
Yes.
Next stage really is this pupilage.
That's true.
What was that stage like for you? Where did you serve your pupils? What was the experience like?
I have a funny story on that. So, when we were having our call, immediately we came out of the ceremony, the call. There were law firms, representatives standing outside. Of course, oh, we heard you had an award, blah blah blah. We want you to work for us. So I had media people wanting to interview me and all. I remember speaking to, if not Daily Graphic Times, and telling them, oh, I want to be a judge. That was the first thing I said. I think I even have the newspaper article. And so when the firms, of course I cannot mention their names because I didn't work with them.
Yeah.
When the firm representatives came and said, we want you to work for us, we are willing to just say your price, we will pay you. I'm like, no, I'm going to be a judge. And then, of course, because my dad is a lawyer, I assumed I'm going to be working with my dad until I'm ready to be a judge. So we do the call on a Friday.
Yeah.
Monday morning, I'm suited up, robed, ready for court, and my dad says, now Juma. And I said, I'm going with you. And he says, no, you're not. You cannot work with me. You have to do something by yourself. Otherwise, you won't learn anything. You'll be too complacent.
Wow.
And I said, I made all those offers go because I thought I'm working with you. And he says, I don't have an office for you. I don't have any space for you. Find yourself a place. So here I am calling back those law firms I had just rejected. And they said, oh, sorry, because we didn't get you. We filled all the positions. So that meant I had to find something. And my colleagues had started their pupilage. I stayed at home for about 2 months, bawling my eyes out. And then I took my CV and I went firm to firm. And I had to defend myself, why they should pick me, even though they had no space for me.
Yeah.
And so I eventually got to Obinsechi and Sobojo, and I sat there from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. telling them I'm not leaving until you give me a job. So eventually the partners came and said, we need to see who this lady is, who is so resilient and who says I'm not leaving. And I told them I will be worth your while. Wow. Give me a shot. And that's how I did my pupilage.
I never would have imagined that.
I know.
Story. And my lady, from the very start, you knew you wanted to be a judge?
Yes.
Was it that?
Yes. I knew I needed to be a lawyer to be a judge. But I knew I wanted to be a judge from the very beginning.
And what would you say was the inspiration behind your desire to be at the bench? Because yes, you shared with us the reason why, or the inspiration behind being a lawyer. Your dad was also, you saw it as an avenue for change. But the bench, what was it that intrigued you about the bench?
So if you're a lawyer, you have to appear before another person to make some orders.
Yeah.
That meant that the change I wanted to make would stop with that person. I needed to go beyond me being the lawyer to be the person who would make the change. So I realized I couldn't be the change I wanted to be unless I was in the position to make that change.
Right.
And so I went a step higher.
Right.
Yes.
Right. That's very interesting. So we'll go back to pupilage. All right.
Yes.
What were some of the challenges that you faced during pupilage? How did you surmount them?
Okay. So I worked with 2 senior lawyers, male, but the associates were all women.
Okay.
And of course, amongst ourselves, we told ourselves, make sure you don't go on maternity leave and leave us, So we kind of thought, because, if you go on maternity leave, that leaves a vacuum. But of course, you cannot stop a woman from getting pregnant and going on maternity leave. Coincidentally, 2 of the women got pregnant at the same time and had to leave for maternity leave. And the partners, one had to travel, so it was just me and one of the partners. And we had a lot of cases. And so imagine having sometimes about 10 briefs to do. And I remember one incident where I was at the Cocoa Affairs Criminal Court 6, if I'm not wrong, or B, I can't remember. But I was on my feet doing a trial, and then I get the instructions from High Court 14 that I cannot be at the Circuit Court when I have to be at the High Court. So I should stop what I'm doing and come and move my motion. And then the judge at the criminal court said, but you're in the middle of a trial. Can you wind up quickly and go? And so all of a sudden, here I am, my mind is all over the place because it's cross-examination and I need to nail it. And my mind is already at the High Court and I don't want the High Court judge to think I'm being disrespectful of her. I started crying in court. And then the woman said, calm down. This will make you one of the best lawyers. Do this and you would succeed. I said, my lady, I don't even know what question to ask. She said, look on your docket. Look at the pleadings. Look at a question. It will come out. So I looked down and I asked one question. She said, you have solved this case with the question you asked. I was standing there. He said, everything you've been asking, yes, they are good, but the question you asked is the only way to solve this case. And you see, in the midst of the turbulence and the anxiety, you became the best you can be. So you are done. You don't even need to ask any other questions. Of course, the lawyer on the other side, no, my lady, you shouldn't have helped her. He said, no, we are here to train the next generation. Exactly. And she needed this experience to be able to tell herself she can do it. So yes, if you want to report me because I aided a junior, fine, do so. But if she were your daughter and she was in this position, because it was a senior lawyer, tell me you would not be appreciative of what I did. And the man said, listen, my lady, we know we had a bad case. We were happy when we got a junior lawyer, but we would have we would have just bullied her with our seniority, and we would like to settle. So that's how we got that case resolved. Wow. So I go to the High Court and my lady said, why are you letting me wait for you? I said, my lady, so she sees I was crying. She said, why, what's wrong? What's good? Because I called you to come to my court, you are crying. I'm not a scary person. I said, my lady, this is what happened. And he said, trust me, one day you tell this story and you would appreciate what happened to you. And I'm so glad. Yes. Yes. So I know a lot of people come before me and I see them, lawyers, I see them sometimes shaking, I see them fumbling, they want to quote a legislation and they are quoting something different. And I just, so I tend to be very friendly and maybe tutorial, maybe to some point, because I remember the experience I had when, not that I didn't know, I knew, but I was just too tensed and I just needed a guide. So when a junior lawyer appears and she's quoting CI 57 rather than 47 or 59, I don't take that as a reason to scold or, make her feel bad or him feel bad. But I take that as an opportunity to tell her, listen, we've all been there before. I know otherwise you wouldn't be a lawyer. And I know you are just tensed or probably you're having a bad morning. So let me use this as an opportunity to get you calm. Let me crack a joke and we move on. So yes. Experience. Yes.
So my lady, that means that I gather that at the firm that you're working with, it was mostly litigation.
Purely litigation. In fact, I remember when I wanted to work with them, I told them, I never want to go to court. Just let me do only the corporate. I will be doing the drafting. I'm really good with writing and research. Never let me go to court. I was this associate who did the most court in that firm. Yes. And I remember I went everywhere. I would follow my senior to Court of Appeal. I'll follow my senior to Supreme Court. I mean, I was there after pupilage. So when I say followed, it was after pupilage. But I remember I was everywhere. everywhere. Every time the judges began to know me, and even when the case is called and I'm not there, they say, "Wait, she'll be here."
Yeah.
And I think that experience at OSS, it's 90% where I am now, because I realized, honestly, it's a small firm. I remember my senior saying, "Oh, we are a boutique law firm," and I'm thinking, okay, I know the other ones are quite big. It's a corporate institution. There's HR. There's this, and this is a very small place, but I would never do it any other way than I did. I learned so much, and I had this moment where my senior didn't know I had joined the bench, and he comes before me and sees me there, and there's tears in his eyes and there's tears in my eyes, and I'm like, I can't believe it. He's like, "Listen, I can't come here, but I'm happy you are where you are, because I knew you'll be where you are."
That's
Yeah.
And so in total, how many years did you spend at the firm?
I did 2.5.
2.5 years.
Yes, I did, because I always wanted to have a bit of both worlds.
Okay.
We did a lot of corporate, but it was secretarial, company secretarial at the firm. I wanted to know how an actual in-house counsel looked like, because one day I'm going to be a judge. I'm not only going to be dealing with human beings, I'm going to be dealing with artificial artificial beings. That meant that I needed to know how those ones are also run.
Right.
So I cannot only have that external counsel perspective. I need to know how it is from inside. So I heard of a position at an oil marketing company, and I said, let me give it a shot. And that's how I ended up at the oil marketing.
Oil marketing.
Yeah.
As legal affairs manager.
Legal manager. I had a legal and external affairs manager. So she was dealing with, because it was an international company, there would definitely be issues which were external to the corporate itself. So she was in charge of the external as well, and I did the legal managerial things.
So we'll take some final words on the pupilage stage.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
What would your advice then be to youngsters who are either serving their pupilage or about to serve their pupilage? What are the things they need to look out for at that stage?
Yeah. It comes so quickly. When you are about to start, you think, why do I have to do pupilage? I'm already a lawyer. I should be able to go to court by myself. But you realize it comes so quickly. If you don't catch it as it comes, you lose it. It's a time for you to actually learn. What I've experienced with some pupils, of course, the directives came recently that pupils don't appear in court by themselves. Yes. But they don't want to learn. For some of the experiences I've had, they don't want to shadow, not learn, shadow. They want to be at the forefront. The law fraternity and the law as we have it, you need to always have someone you are looking up to who's guiding you. And it's through that guide that you form yourself. So if you want to take that part of it away, you realize that 10 years down the line, you're a lawyer, but you're not a good one. Because you did not have the guidance that would make you who you are. And so I think it's very important for us to appreciate the essence of the pupilage. You have pupil masters who would train you, and you stand and everybody can tell, oh, you're coming from this law firm, because they see that person in you. And so that rush to quickly, do things by yourself and be filing and be doing things, I think take your time. Take your time.
Legal manager at this OMT.
Yes.
It's a renowned oil marketing company.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Now, what were the gaps that you identified? You're coming from a litigation background. You've been placed in a corporate setting.
Yes.
Obviously, there are some striking differences. Definitely. What were some of them, and what was your approach to filling those gaps?
Okay. So I identified the major one is most of the litigation was done by external solicitors. So for the period I was there, I had to ask to go to court with the external solicitors. Otherwise, I would never step in court. Because there's so much in-house to be done. Going to court seems to be a waste of time. But for me, I felt as a lawyer, you can never get rusty. So the first thing I noticed is if you're not careful, courtroom experience will be foreign to you. And with how dynamic the law is and how much it changes all the time, you cannot afford to lose that dynamic. That perspective from the courtroom.
Yeah.
The second thing is the in-house counsel, you become focused on what the business of that entity is.
Yes.
So for us, because it was an oil marketing company, the laws I became conversant with were the laws that regulated that industry. So what did I need banking laws for? What did I need estates for? Yes, once in a while you may have something to do with a deceased staff or family member of a deceased staff, and you may need to know, but it's not something you do often. So you realize that when you step out of that world and a case comes and they're like, your mother, your father, or a friend says, oh, you're a lawyer, I have a friend who has this issue, can you help them? You realize that no, you don't want to admit it, but you can't, because you don't remember the last time you did an LA application. Exactly. And yet you are brilliant, you are one of the brilliant downstream petroleum industry lawyers, but you can't do LA. So it was a shock again to me when I realized, with time I didn't know simple cases. You mentioned Mosi and Begina, and I cannot even remember what is it about. What's the principle? You mentioned simple, and I used to be like that with cases. When we are in court and the judge is doing a trial or something is going on, I'll be citing the case. And now here I am and I cannot remember the rudimentary ones. So, yes, it was a shock to me. I think I saw the law in a certain light than I experienced it. So, yes, I keep saying it was a shock to me because it was a shock to me. Yeah. My dad was a company lawyer for all the years I had known. But I always remember people coming to him with legal help, legal issues that he would help. So I didn't realize that, that corporate world could restrict me, because I saw my dad practicing more or less, even though he was an in-house counsel. Yeah. And so to come into that world and find out I actually cannot practice as I thought I could. And that means if I'm here for example, for 5 years, I'm not a practicing lawyer for 5 years. Is that something I can take on? And I said, let's do what we can, because you also realize that because you're an in-house counsel, you are dealing with, even though there's an HR department, they go through you, the lawyers, for labor-related issues, tax-related issues, audits, and regulatory. So there's an aspect of that also comes to your table that the private practice doesn't. Exactly. So if you have to hone in on the advantages as much as you can, and I hope I did as much as I could. Yes, in that period. Yeah.
I was going to ask, the next question was going to be, what are some of the add-ons that you realize at the end of your period at this OMT? You realize, look, I came here not having ABC skills, but my time here has really helped me develop these specific skills.
So because it was an international company, it meant we had to deal with a lot of foreign nationals. Of course, the MD at that time was even a French national. And legal means every time the MD is sitting having a meeting with someone, you are there. And he's looking to you to help him because, one, he's a foreign national, and two, the law. So he's the one talking, but he's kind of looking at you to give him hints whether what he's saying is right or not. And you are meeting with all sorts of people, ambassadors, representative of other countries or entities. And you realize that the ambassador is kind of looking to you to look to your MD to advise whether what they are saying is right. And here you are sitting, having no knowledge of Croatian law, and yet you're supposed to be nodding to your MD, or, so it did help me. When we get there, you realize it did help me eventually, because it gave me that confidence to sit with people who are not like me. i.e., I may not be Croatian or Bulgarian, but I realized I'm able to sit down with those people because I realized they needed me for something. So it gave me a sense of need that I didn't realize I had. I needed that to be filled. And it might not be the same for everybody. For me, it gave me a sense of confidence I didn't realize I would need in future. Yes.
And so, my lady, what were some of the highlights of your time at this OMC?
Okay. I got to meet a lot of people. MDs I probably would never have met if I hadn't worked there. Like I even mentioned, foreign nationals I never would have met. But I think one of the memorable ones is when I had to attend my first AGM. Because of course AGM is the baby of the legal department. And you are having, and this is a public company, listed company. And so you have shareholders from this is an old company. So you have shareholders 70, 80 years, 90 years, and they are all coming for their AGM. These are the owners of the firm, of the company. And they are coming, and they come to the legal department, and they want you to know, I own 10 shares. A shareholder is a shareholder.
When I want share.
So they walk into your office with the audacity of an owner, and then you realize, hold on, this is what company law told us, that the shareholder is the owner of the company, not your MD. And so you see the MD immediately, change from MD authority mode to a subordinate, because they are the ones.
His bosses have come.
And these are people who, if you see them on the streets, you would never think they would have the rights to walk into the MD's office, but they do. And so, you know how it becomes practical to you when you realize your sections on company law tell you the shareholder has a voting right and this and that, and you see it
live,
and you are sitting down, and they come. We used to give them souvenirs, and they come and say, I'm the owner of the company, I want 2 aerospace. Yes. I think it opened my eyes to company law so much. It was no more the black and white I remember. It was no, of course, Act 179 now amended, but it was more real. It was actual.
You saw it play out.
I saw it play out, and I can never forget that. Of course, with that, it changed after that, but that was an experience of mine.
So my lady, again, I don't want us to move from this experience without really zeroing on what there is for the youngster to learn from. Right? And from your assessment, your time there, what do you think are some of the key things that any lawyer who aspires to work in a corporate setting, corporate environment, should advert his or her mind to? Skills they should pay attention to.
So I noticed they train us a lot. And I think it might be the same for other corporate institutions, but they train you for everything they want you to do. So they want you to do public speaking. They are going to give you a training on it. They want you to everything. You are going to have a mini course, even if it's a 1 day. I remember we used to do so many courses that I did course on stock exchange, everything. Anything they need you to do, they need to train you. They would, before they give you a vehicle, you are a licensed driver, an experienced one, they will train you how to drive their vehicles. Yes. They want you to have a meeting with an insurance firm. They will give you a 30 minutes training on how to understand the insurance lingo. So I have so many certificates, so many of them, because you would do a short course before you.
And you get a certificate of participation.
And at the end of the year, they will call for all your certificates because they want to know, did you really participate? Some of them were virtual. Of course, many of them were in-house, but they want to know, are you really who you say you are? We trained you so that you understand stock exchange, because they're a publicly listed company. You may not have done the stock exchange course per se, but when you sit with the GSC panel and they are talking, you as the lawyer should understand what they are saying. You shouldn't be blanking out. So tomorrow when they ask you to meet the MD of Ghana Stock Exchange, you shouldn't panic, because you should understand what he's saying when he talks about that. And so I think when you are going for a corporate entity, what you can take out from that is as much training as possible. Whatever they can offer you in respect of enhancing your skills, take it. Don't make yourself busy for nothing. Because there's a lot of money to be made in that field, in that world. You are getting a lot of allowances, you are getting 13th month salary, you're getting bonuses. So if your focus is the money you are making, you realize that you come out of it maybe wealthier than your colleague, but a little dumber.
Wow. The hard truth.
Because your colleague on the field
Yeah.
is going to law learning a new law every day. There's a new jurisprudence out, there's a new legal precedence out, and he's learning it every day.
Yeah.
He may not be making as much money because he's not getting allowances, or he's not getting what do you call it, salary, bonuses and those things. Yes, but he's learning the law every day.
Yeah.
And you are stuck with that small world of whatever niche it is that you are in. So if you are not getting the extra training that the company or the entity affords you, and you think you can rub shoulders with your colleague who is on the field, 10 years, you realize that he's being reported in law reports. People know him as lawyer, this and that. People know you as the lawyer for this company. They are not the same people. They know him as a lawyer all over the country. They know you as a lawyer for this entity. They're not the same. We are both lawyers, but I would go for the person I know. Oh, this case, that's the lawyer who did it. This is the one who did it. Oh, he's a lawyer for, okay. Oh, okay, how is the company doing? I am moving farm milk, for example, not to say anything about farm milk, but you understand. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is, I know they do because I've worked for other companies as well. I know they afford so much training to balance you out. Don't back out of it. Don't apply yourself, and you will learn a lot. Else, how else would I have known stock exchange, listings and the rules regulating that? So yes, that's one thing I would say. Don't go for only the money. The money is nice, but you're a lawyer. You are learning
as well.
Yes.
Exactly.
When people talk to you, they should be able to appreciate why we call us learned. And I think that's what I can say.
Quite recall some time back, a lecturer of ours said, the profession is a lifetime of learning.
It is.
And so you can't forget that call to a lifetime
of learning forever and ever.
It's spot on.
Thank you. Yes.
So I think in total,
yes,
your time at this OMC, how long was it for?
I also did. I did 2.5 years.
Okay.
So I have this, I don't know what it is, but after 2.5 years, getting to 3, I want something new. And I think one of the reasons why I even joined the bench is because I told myself, you have nowhere more to go because you're stuck in this forever. But after 2.5, 3 years, I'm tired. It challenged me because I'm able to surmount challenges so quickly that unless it is something unique, I get bored doing it. Yes. So
you want to the next one?
I want something different. I want something that I wake up in the morning and I am racking my brains trying to find out how to solve this. And if I'm not getting that where I am, I'm already bored.
Right.
Yes.
So after 2.5 years,
yes,
you exit to another corporate entity.
Yes.
Before we touch on that, on exiting.
Yes.
On exiting, I know sometimes young lawyers, especially, after being at a particular place for a while, now have a desire to leave.
Yeah.
And they are stuck with trying to balance their desire to leave with trying to manage existing relationships.
That's just true.
All right. And I mean, given that you moved quite a number of times, I just want you to touch on that a bit.
Yes.
What was the experience like for you?
Yes.
Leaving the litigation firm to Total, the OMC.
Yes.
Then moving from the OMC
to the new company. I try to be a lovely person as much as I can whilst with them.
Yeah.
So that when I'm leaving, it's not because there's a problem, relationship wise or professional wise or even work wise. So as much as I know, my leaving has never been because I had a problem with anybody. And so when I'm leaving, it's actually a bittersweet experience because they're like, what can we do to keep you on? Because there's nothing wrong with the relationship we have. But I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. When I sit down, I tell myself that this is what I want to learn from this experience I'm having. If I get that within the period, then it means I set a new standard for myself. And if I realize you are no longer giving me that, I'll come to you. I always do go to the people that I work with or for, and I start telling them, I'm looking at going. I'm giving myself some time, but I'm looking at going because I realize what I'm looking for, I'm not going to get it. And so it's not a sudden, exit for me.
You prepare their minds.
I do. And I remember my boss at the OMC, I even went to her and she's like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Listen, you are my favorite boss, one of my favorite bosses. I love working with you. You are like a mother to me." And usually when it's a woman to woman, subordinates, people think there will be a lot of hostility.
Yeah.
She was my mother. You go, in fact, wherever she was, I was. And so when we had to go, when I had to leave, people thought, what has happened? People started coming up with stories. And if I call her right now, we'll have a laugh. I still call her all the time, so I try to give a heads up, especially to the person I'm under, to let the person appreciate I may go. I'm going to help you to look for my replacement. I will not leave a lacuna with my exit. And I do that. So even before I left the OMC, I was part of the people who got my replacement. So by the time I'm gone,
you have a replacement.
There's a replacement. And I wouldn't mind staying a little bit, even if it's like a month until that. Yeah. So I've always had some sort of a smooth transition
out of these places.
It's not been working
the
at all.
organization doesn't suffer. You also don't suffer.
No. I try. I think I owe that to them for what they've done for me. So I'm not leaving because you didn't do me good. You did me good, but I've got what I need, and I don't think what else I want you are able to give to me.
Right.
I think it's fair.
It sounds like a very solid approach to transition.
Yes.
And so we'll move on to the company that you went to after the OMC.
Yes.
It was a construction firm.
It's called LMI Holdings.
LMI Holdings.
It's a big. It's a conglomerate of 36 companies. I didn't know. I went on the internet. I found out they were hiring. I did my research as much as I could, and I was marveled at how much it's a wholly owned Ghanaian company, owned by a Ghanaian. Everything about it is a Ghanaian, and I was wondering how come I had never heard of LMI. And so I did my research, and I go for the interview. Beautiful place. I mean, it's you forget the moment you enter, you forget you're in Ghana. It's run properly. And then I sit down and we do the interview, and luckily I do get the job. And then I find out it's not as little as you thought it was. You knew it was a group of companies, but it is actually 36 companies. And you have to be the lawyer for the 36 companies. That was an experience. Because aside being construction, they were into building and road construction, they were into plant and logistics, they were into warehousing, power, water, solar. I mean, apart from food, every industry you can think of,
they were operating in.
They were there. They sell lands, they do. So I'm always at Lands Commission, I'm always at GIPC, free zones, GRA, EP, was it? EPA. Oh goodness. I moved the municipalities. So that experience was one.
It was worth it,
It was. Because it was so open. You wake up in the morning and you don't know which regulatory authority wants to have a meeting with you. And you don't, have to read about solar laws. So then you realize, okay, our laws on solar energy is limited. You have to read about Water Resources Commission. You realize that our laws are either outdated, they don't really apply as they do, And it was an experience because I realized we do have laws, but are they still practicable? Are they still applicable now? And a problem has happened, and there's a law, but the law doesn't seem to solve the problem.
Not relevant to the times.
No. And I'm going to VRA because one of the projects that we were doing was railway construction, and as well as a harbor, a mini harbor. And so
then it sort of aligned with your quest for a fresh challenge.
It was.
here's where you are with multiple industries.
And I am, being ping-ponged
Wow.
every day. So I wake up in the morning, I do my schedule for the week. But you sit on the table you sit at your desk, and you have a letter, for example, from SNIT. Because 36 companies, that means you are talking about over 1,000 workers.
Exactly.
You will not have only good workers. You're going to have disgruntled ex-workers. You're going to have casual. You're going to have all classes of workers. And you're the legal officer. So, of course, there's an HR, but when there's a problem or there's potential problem, they're not going to HR. They'll come to you. So I'm having a meeting with maybe, for example, SNITS or Yoko or this. I mean, where didn't I go? And then, because then I was the head of the legal department, I decided to add going to court. So I was also going to court. So sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm driving as far as Adan to go to court. Wow. And I enjoyed it because I was like, this is what I want. This is where my heart lies. Unfortunately, the only downside of that is I couldn't get an associate to work with me. I did get one, but she had to work for one of the demanding companies amongst the 36. So it became a bit draining for me, and I realized my personal life was missing. So I needed to put aside that aspiration for a while and attend to the home. Yes. Because you are achieving what you want to achieve, but there's another side of you which you will be judged by whether you like it or not, because you are feeling there. So I had to let that go. Yes. But
how long was that?
Again, 2.5. Oh, you know me about 2.5.
Lucky number 2.5, right?
Lucky number 2.5. So of course, as when I was leaving, my director was not happy. And for the last how many years that I've left, I always help them to get a replacement. I'm always on the interviewing panel when they need a replacement, and I told them that's what I can do for them as the one who was there. Yeah.
So, my lady, after 2.5 years at LMI,
yes,
you also decide to leave.
Yes.
For the reason that you've already shared with us.
Yes.
And you find yourself at another law firm, Alexander & Partners.
So that is another interesting story. So I was at home and I get a call from a lawyer had trained, and she says, Sewa, Chairman Embassy wants a lawyer. And I told them, you are good. Of course, I'm excited because I was at home at that point. I think I needed some break. So at this point, I was at home. So
this after LMI?
This after LMI. Yeah. I left LMI to go home, not to go to any work. I wanted to focus, yes. Yeah. And so I said, sure. She's like, yeah, so they'll call you. But I didn't take it. I took it with a pinch of salt. And then I wake up one morning with a +44 number. Of course, I think it's a scam. And the accent is a bit different, so I'm pretty sure it's a scam. And the person says, is this Nana? And I'm like, yes. Of course, because I'm waiting for the scammers, And she said, are you a lawyer? And I said, yes, I am. She said, I'm calling from Germany. And we need a lawyer, and we are told you can do the job. So I pick up. I said, yes, I'm available. Yes. And they said, can you send us your CV? And I said, yes. So I immediately sent the CV, and they said, our partners want to have an interview with you right now.
Then.
Right now. They've seen the CV. They want me. And I said, okay. So can you set up, this is not Zoom. There was something, Skype. So I quickly go set up my Skype and sit behind my desk. And yes, it was partners. They actually meant partners. And they said, we are a German law firm. We want to come and set up in Ghana. We have no idea anything about Ghana. We are told you're a lawyer. You can do that for us. And of course, who says no to that? So I said, yes, I'm going to do that for you. When do you want to come? And they say, so do you know GIPC? I said, oh, Ghana Investment Promotion. The lawyer is my friend. Do you know Registrar General? So I said, oh, yeah, she's my friend. Do you know this? She's my friend. I was in class with them. They said, wait, are you really saying that? I said, I can send you their numbers. And they said, you are the one you are looking for. So I said, okay, so where is your firm at? They said, we don't have a firm. we want you to set up a firm for us. I go to Registrar General's, I speak to Priscilla. He said, the name sounds similar to something we have. So I called them and I said, unfortunately, you cannot set up. I'm sorry, we can't do this. And they said, okay, can you set up a firm yourself? I said, sure.
Wow.
He said, set up a firm. We have an office at Octagon. Go and take it and run it. We'll work with you. So that's how I got my firm.
Wow.
Fully paid rent
Wow.
at Octagon. And just when I was about to start, Corona hits, lockdown. And so I'm thinking, really, is this really going to go away? And they said, no, can't you work from home? I said, I can't. I said, okay, so then forget about the firm, just work from home. We are going to pay you in euros, stay at home when you wake up, when you...
Like they didn't come to it?
You have no idea. Just when we get business and we really need you to go to the firm, to the office, you go. I had just delivered then. You are a new mother. You don't even need to take your baby around. There's a pandemic. Just work. When we really need you in the office, we'll call you to go. And I said, no, I have to work for the money because the money, I was being paid too much. I have to work for the money. I said, no, you've proved yourself.
Your competence was going to...
So don't worry. Don't pay for anything. Anything you want, we'll give you separate money for that. And so your salary or whatever, it was not a salary, it was like a commission.
Yeah.
Whatever we are paying you is for you. But if you have to move your car to go to the office, we have to pay for that because you are doing that on our business side. And funny enough, they were doing billable hours, something we don't do in Ghana. So anytime you sit, the moment you open your computer and it has to be our business, you start clogging in, and that's different from the money we pay you. I said, no, this you cannot
too good to be true.
So, of course, unfortunately, this was during the pandemic, and being a German company, all their clients were foreigners.
Yeah.
And there's lockdown in Germany. Remember, Germany was one of the hardest hit. So, unfortunately, because of the pandemic in their country, in the lockdown and all, we couldn't work.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, they're not going to pay me because I'm not working. And they said, we have a contract with you. We are going to pay you whether or not you work. So let's just hope this goes away so that we don't more or less lose out.
Yeah.
But we had a contract with you that we are going to work with you for some time and we have to pay you. So I'm sitting at home breastfeeding my baby and earning euros. And of course, the Ghanaian in me felt as bad as I could. So I started writing for them a lot. So I did a lot of articles on regulations in Ghana, how to set up a business in Ghana so they could share for their investors or clients who wanted to do business in Ghana. That was when I think is it VW or so wanted to set up an assembly plant.
Yeah.
So they needed people to attract. So I did a lot of research. I think I need to be noble. I cannot just be taking these people's money and do nothing. So I did a lot of research work. How to register a company, if you're a foreign national, GIPC free zones, how to have an external company. I did all of that. And they will keep coming. I did some on labor laws. I did as much as I could until the lockdown was over and I could go to work. I go to work and I get a call. They're calling from Judicial Service. You put in an application to be a magistrate. Are you still interested? And I was on the phone and the woman says, hello, are you there? I said, yes. Are you interested? Because we want to call you for an exam. And I'm thinking, there's no money that will surpass what I'm making now.
Just when?
But this is what I've wanted.
For the longest time?
Yes. So, of course, I started crying because I was like, this cannot be happening now. And I told her, yes. He said, the interview is coming up next week. So prepare. And so now how do I go back to my sweet deal and tell them, well, after 3 months, I have to walk out of the contract. And it was a sad moment because they did. So again, I told them, I'm going to help you get a replacement because I think it's quite unfair that I'm leaving you when it was about to pick up.
Yeah.
But this is what I've wanted. And I don't know why God has chosen to let it come at this time. But I'm not going to leave you with a lacuna. I will help you get a replacement. So my books and my everything, so that the law firm doesn't look empty. I told them I'll leave my stuff. There might not be a person physically, but at least when you have, because now the borders had been opened. So all those people who could not travel needed to. So I remember when I started on the bench, sometimes over the weekend, I'll just have to go and sit there and turn on the computer so that it warms up a bit until they got a replacement. Yeah.
So my lady, the plan for the bench, because it was an age-old aspiration.
Yes.
You had expressed it on your call to the bar.
I had.
To certain things.
Yes.
But it's an age-old aspiration. Was the plan to start from the bottom and really rise up? And so from the district courts through to the top?
Yes, it was. I remember when I went for my interview, because at the time I applied, I was about 6 years or 5 years at the bar. Okay. So I was definitely beyond district court magistrate. And I remember my interview panel members asking why the district court? And I said, that's where we learn. That's where those who don't have lawyers come. That's where the basic conflicts happen. Yeah. It's substantive law mostly than procedural. Yeah. And you realize, and of course, I'll be honest, I had been out of private practice for some time, about 6 years, about 4, 5, 6 years. And so I don't want to go to the High Court. I don't want to wait and go to the High Court and be making basic mistakes. Everybody will know you don't know your law. I want to rise through the ranks. And because of where I'm hoping to go to in future, I want to be able to, when I'm making a decision, I'm writing a judgment, I needed to touch the core of the people. And I will not be able to do that when I don't understand what happens at the bottom. So I would rise from the bottom. And I told them, yes, I know everybody thinks the magistrate is low, but it's not low. Once you sit there in your seat at the days, you are still a judge. Yes, a magistrate, but you are making the same decisions a judge does. It's how you take it. If you consider it as a low position, it shall be for you. But if you tell yourself, I'm making a change, regardless of where I'm sitting. And I was given the almighty Ejabing. So yes. It's I did it on purpose. I deliberately wanted to start from the bottom. And I've done that. 2 years, I'm here.
Congratulations, my
Thank you.
Especially because it's lots of pressure, lots of cases.
70 cases, 60 cases a day. And I sit from 8 to...
And I gather that it helps you immerse yourself in the magistrate experience.
It was it was an experience I loved. It was daunting. It was scary because everybody tells you Ejabing. They say it with such fear, and I was a new mother, like I said. So how do you leave your new mother? So I remember when I started the Ejabing, I had to leave the house at 4 a.m. because of traffic. And I'll get to work at 6 and I'll sleep, go through my dockets and start my day. And then when I close, go through my dockets for the next day, sleep because of traffic and get home. So I was doing more like morning to evening at the office.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And my lady, what would you say you touched on the fact that they called you, indicated that there was going to be an exam, and then an interview.
Yeah.
Can you run us through the stages of your joining the bench from the call?
So, like I said, of course, they do a publication and say apply. So I apply, and then if you meet the qualification that they are saying they want, they will call you and notify you whether there's an interview or there's an exam to write. You go through those processes, and each process there's elimination, I believe, because if I look at maybe the number of people who wrote the exam with us, and the number of people who came for interviews with us, and the number of people who were eventually inaugurated or sworn in as judges or magistrates, you realize that there's an elimination at each stage. It is. It is, because one of the things you do realize is when you are sitting for the exam for the judge, you have to write as a judge, which is something you've never done, because you are always writing as a lawyer. You are writing your written addresses and your submissions addressing a judge. And this time around, they're telling you, be the judge, write as a judge. So by itself is an exam. Even not applying the law, now writing as a judge with that authority, because your submissions in the past have been a prayer, and so you are trying to convince, and this time you are being told to make a decision, and I think that is by itself even an exam on its own. And if you don't realize the difference in writing as a lawyer and writing as a judge, I think you've missed it. Yeah.
So there's training for you to.
Oh, so when you are done, of course, when you are sworn in, you do. It's not called pupilage; it's called an attachment.
Okay.
So they attach you to a sitting judge or magistrate to experience how it is done before you are then posted to your court. Yes. So yes, and then you are even given 2 weeks, 2 weeks to a 1 month training. Every day with facilitators coming in. They take you through the civil procedure like you were a part 1 student. Of course, you do have an appreciation of it already, but you are taught like you don't know it. They start from order 1 sub 1 and take you up with cases, and each day we go through the training, you realize you learn something new, you appreciate something better from a different perspective. Because remember, you are also being taught by different facilitators, and the beautiful thing about the law is we are interpreting it from the way we appreciate it. So one principle of law, you have judges or lawyers or facilitators giving different interpretations, and you begin to appreciate, okay, that is why the law is nice. I always tell people that's why we wear black and white, because one person is seeing white, one person is seeing black. So don't go and wear gray or blue. Yes.
So my lady, final question on you being a magistrate at that stage of your life. And we know the law says to be a judge, you need to be of high moral character, moral integrity.
Precisely.
That appears to be on the books the only requirement.
Yes.
But from your experience, what do you think are some of those skills that an aspiring judge needs to start cultivating, or will have to cultivate at some point?
Of course, I think that requirement is also even for lawyers. If you look at the oath we take when we are taking the bar, it's also part. Of course, as a lawyer, you have to have proven moral integrity. But remember, it's now that we even know. Today I'm having an interview with you. I don't think it's done often. You don't even see judges often. You hear, oh, my uncle was a judge. You might never actually even see the judge. The difference between them and I believe now us is we are a bit younger. Mostly, or I should say in the past, they were older persons who were already by themselves, maybe quite in their spaces. We are younger, we have kids, we have to take the playground. We have extra classes we have to attend. So we have juniors or babies that makes us have to go outside. Whereas the older generation had older children. And so, yes, you knew a judge, but he was probably in his 50s with children already working. And therefore, maybe unless it was a funeral or an event that he had to attend, he may not have to go out. But for us, I have a play date, on a Saturday. I cannot let my nanny go, because that means I'm depriving my child of that experience. And so now I have to balance being that anonymous person with being a mother and being a parent. Yes. And so you may see me more out. I may not identify myself when I go out. But one thing I do realize is, and it happened to me 2 days ago, you walk somewhere and when the person sees you, the first thing they shout is "my lady."
My lady.
So even when you are trying to,
Anonymous, and then
they blow your cover all the time, and immediately you have to scatter because then you don't want people to realize you were there. So that's, I think, one of the generational changes from the judges we used to know to the judges we know now. We are more known now. And another thing is everybody wants to admit they know a judge. So even when you don't want them to know, they will go out. Yes,
with confidence.
Funny enough, I had this. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Where one Halloween, I always go for Halloween parties with my kids. And so there was this costume party, and I felt fine. I'll be in costume anyway. Nobody will see me. I get there, and the friend I'm with starts shouting, "This one is a judge!" And I'm like,
blown totally.
Immediately. And you know how Ghanaian costume parties are. You say costume party and everybody comes undressed. So of course I had my mask, but I was not wearing it. And so I'm like, yeah, for X Factor count. Yeah, for mentor count. Because if you leave it like that, people's attention comes to you. So I'm a judge for mentor. Yeah. So yes.
So my lady, after this, the magistrate for how many years?
2 years.
2 years.
I went to the bench 2020. So again, 2.5. I went to the bench 2020 August. And 2023 July, I was elevated. So thank you very much. Thank you.
What's the experience been like? So how different is it from the district court?
I'm doing a lot of criminal cases now. The circuit court, of course, because we use the same rules as the high court, you realize that it's kind of preparing you for the high courts, especially the civil aspect of it. The district court is a bit more, it has its own rules, and it's summary jurisdiction, so the proceedings are a bit more liberal. It's not too procedural, of course, except when the procedure is specific that you do it that way. So you realize that the circuit court, it's putting you up there to go to the high court. And so if you take it seriously, your transit to the high court should be smoother. Of course, I'm not there, but if I'm using the CI 47 for the next 3, 4, 5 years, and eventually God does me the favor and elevates me, I've used that as my Bible. Why shouldn't I excel when I'm at the high court? Yes. And unlike the district court, where for criminal cases, there's a limit to the sentences and the fines you can impose. The circuit court is a bit open, and so again, like the high court, you realize that it's again a little bit like the high court at the circuit court. It's not you have a maximum of 2 years. For the circuit court, you are a bit open to sentence, and it's an experience for me because when you are doing 2 years for a case, you tell yourself in your heart, you tell yourself, oh, 2 years, it will come right now. But when you have to do 60 years and you're looking at the person before you who is 27 or 29, and you're like, am I condemning this person to death? You feel a bit some way. So it's an experience.
What would you say is the toughest part of being a judge?
Sentencing for me. Sentencing for me has. I remember when I did my first sentencing, I spoke to a therapist after that because I felt
it took a toll on you.
It did. I felt I don't have the moral right to determine how a person should spend their liberty. But I told myself, but you took an oath. Even the Bible, God, selected judges to judge. So you are not doing anything beyond what even God mandated man to do. And yes, as much as it may feel foreign to you, look at the victim or look at the person who suffered because of what maybe this person is alleged to have done. So don't look at the person before you, look at the person who is not before you, who has had to lose, for example, a limb or property because this person chose not to abide by the natural rules of law. Yeah.
What's your advice to aspiring lawyers who want to, so not aspiring lawyers, but lawyers who aspire to join the bench someday?
Prepare yourself. It's not all roses as you see it. It comes with, it could be a personal thing for me, but it comes with a certain sense of burden in the sense that I tell myself, if I'm taking someone's liberty, the person must deserve it. And so I am burdened on a daily basis. And you know how the courtroom is. The lawyers will argue, plea of mitigation, everything is done. But the final leg is left to you alone.
Yeah.
Everybody is staring at you. They want to know, are you giving the maximum or the minimum? This person is said to have committed robbery. He used a gun. He pointed the gun at the person's head. Are you going to give the person the most, or are you going to find favor? Because they've made a plea of mitigation.
Yeah.
They've told you, I made an error. I admit it, blah, 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 blah. Are you going to tell yourself, I agree with your admission of guilt, and therefore I'm going to find favor on you? Or are you going to look at the victim who's traumatized, even after this case, because he had a gun to his head?
Exactly.
And so you are sitting there and everybody in the courtroom is looking at you. Are you doing the right thing? And you go home and you ask yourself, did I do the right thing? And the scary part of it is sometimes people in the courtroom, after the case is over, you realize, you hear them murmur, you hear them say, no man, no. Or baby, we pen no man. So even before you get out, you are judged for your judgment.
Exactly.
And you're asking yourself, did I make a mistake? Should I have done more or should I have done less? And tomorrow you have to come and do it again. So you don't even get the opportunity to wallow in your pity, because tomorrow someone else has been brought before you for the exact same crime. If you're not even lucky, you have the same person for the exact same crime on another person. So you have sentenced him and he's going to, do that sentence, but he's before you again for another complete same crime or complete different crime. And you're thinking, I've already given you the maximum. What else should I do? So I think it's a deep personal discussion you have to do with yourself. Are you ready for that? Because it's a mandate God is giving you.
Yeah.
It is not an avenue to make money. Let me repeat. It's not an avenue to make money. If that is why you want to join, you are in for the shock of your life. You will be so embarrassed, because then that dignity you think you are going to get at the job, yes, they will see you as a judge, but nobody will respect you.
Lost.
It's gone, because the person who will give you the money is the same person who will go and say you are not worth your salt. And what is a judge without value? What is a judge that is going to be questioned for everything you say? So for me, I think if you want to come onto this side of life, it must be a personal thing with yourself, knowing that you are going to have people's lives in your hands. You are going to open the docket and see a baby who has been molested. How are you dealing with that? Because you have your personal life. Assuming you're a married woman who's not being treated well, for instance, and you have a divorce before you. Are you going to punish every husband that appears before you because your husband is not treating you well? You have experiences from your childhood that you may see play out before you. So it's not an easy job at all. It's a very emotional, psychological job. And we are not looking at your emotions. In fact, the law says take your emotions out of it. They say apply the law. So how are you applying the law when what the person is experiencing is something you have experienced, and you feel this is my time to correct what happened to me? And they are supposed to be able to read your judgment devoid of emotions. It is a balancing act that is not possible. near impossible, but you have judges churning out judgments on a daily basis, devoid of judgment, devoid of emotions. So I think that's why I said it's something you have to do with yourself, and you put your pen to the paper and tell yourself, I know this woman is being abused by her husband. I'm, for example, abused by my husband, but the person in front of me is not my husband. So until you are able to detach every time, because when we read your judgment, we read whether there's emotions in it or not. And I tell myself, I know appeal lets you learn, but I don't want to be the one whose decisions are always being appealed. It makes you a weak person.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
But in concluding questions.
Yes.
On the your second stage of career.
Yes.
What? And this is random. What are some of the things that you feel lawyers need to be aware of when they are appearing before judges?
I once said appearing before a judge is like wooing a woman. The ability to woo a woman is the same as the ability to woo a judge, male or female.
Yeah.
Because one of the first things I remember we were taught is the law is in the bosom of the judge. And so you've walked in, you have your law, you have your everything. But at the end of the day, it's your ability to woo that judge to your side. Because there's an opposing counsel who's doing exactly the same thing. Reading the law and telling the judge, oh, the way the law is meant is this way and not how the other person said. So it is not your years of the bar at the bar. It's not how eloquent or articulate you are. It's your ability to talk to the judge, to feel like you want him or her on your side. And I've noticed some lawyers are not able to do that because they feel the law is on their side. And it's always those who think the law is on their side who fail to do that part. So your law might be right, but you've not been able to convince me. And I always tell them it's a mistake when you're appearing before a judge who knows what she's about. Because if I didn't know what I'm about, then I'm looking for you to teach me. But before I came to sit there, so as you are talking, I'm poking holes. I'm cross-examining your submission, and I have so many questions. And if my questions outweigh the submission, already I'm not impressed. So I think be polite. We are human beings. You wake up in the morning, and sometimes you've had a difficult morning, and you are sitting. Imagine a jabbing. You have over 70 people sitting in front of you, with everybody looking at you. You cough wrongly and they'll say you coughed to the wrong side. That means that you are giving a sign, And so sometimes you just want someone who appear before you, who will brighten the day for you. And when you have a lawyer who comes and throws their weight about, particularly when you are a lawyer, a judge sitting at the lower court, sometimes it hurts you because it tells you they don't regard you. So I think one of the things that I would say is, we are as human as they are, and we have our moments, we have our days which are not the best. Sometimes you talk to a lawyer and realize I didn't speak well, and you would wish you could call the lawyer and apologize, but that will come with another problem. And so we make our mistakes, and I've had a lawyer come and lambast me in court, and I told myself, this is the guy's last practice. And guess who they brought? Someone I could say no to when the person came to apologize. So yes. My advice to people appearing before us is, treat us as humans. We are not metaphysical beings. We have our moments, and we fail and we fall. And even if we have failed or fallen, I think you teach us like we would want to be taught. Yes.
But your spirituality played a role in your life.
Oh, have I been agbaled? Yes, I have. As to how true it is, I don't know. But I remember there's a case where I was informed that one of the parties had taken the case to somewhere, and I should pray. And I told them, the only prayer I know is the only being I know is my God. And since He selected me for this job, He will not let me fail. So sometimes when I sit there, I say, but I say it in jest. They are all laughing. Because yes, some people feel they have a higher authority that can help them. And yes, so you have to be strong with whoever you revere and you fear, because they also come in with whoever they revere and they fear.
Yeah.
And yes. So
Final question, and I think you touched on, or you hinted on what I'm about to ask. It's work-life balance.
Yeah.
You are a mother.
Yeah.
You are a wife.
Yeah.
You're also a judge.
Yeah.
What has been your approach? What have been the guiding principles to balancing work as well as life? What are some of the sacrifices you've had to make?
What I have decided to do is to take my life in the order of priority as I am. So I was a wife, and then a mother, and a judge. So that's how my life is. So when I have to take a decision where these three things, I have to make a choice, I choose them in the order as they came. So of course, my husband knows who I am.
Yeah.
And he would not want to put me in a position where I'm going to lose maybe my job because of him. But if I have to make a decision, I'm not going to lose my job. But for instance, I have to leave the house at a certain time because I have to get to the office. That means that I have to make my day in such a way that he doesn't lose out, my children don't lose out, and I still have my job. And I think that priority that I have is what is working for me, because like I told you, because at some time I didn't have that balance. I had to stop my job for a while to balance the imbalance. But since I implemented that system, where I told them, please don't put me in a position where I have to lose something because of you. And luckily, he does that. He's never put me in a position where I have to choose between him and my job. He's very supportive, and that's how come I'm in Kumasi by myself, and my kids are in Accra with him. So I think maybe I would say I'm lucky in that field, but I needed a system, and that system is working for me for now. If I realize it's not working, I would have to recalibrate and find something else. So I think for a person in my position, it's a matter of finding a system, and if it's not working, you change it. You keep changing until it works, because we are not going to lose one to achieve the other. Yes.
Her Honour. Thank
you, sir.
Very, very insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Very rich conversation, and I'm just grateful.
Thank you.
Again, for making time, spending time to have this conversation.
Yes.
My belief is that lots of people who tune in, who listen, who view this, will be blessed.
Yes.
Especially if they are on that journey, probably becoming judges or lawyers as well. And so, may that be brief. And so that's it, people. Thank you so much for your time. It's been the All the Way Up podcast by Jeffrey Mensah. Very insightful conversation. Look out for the next.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. For subsequent episodes, subscribe to All the Way Up podcast by Jeffrey Mensah on YouTube and all podcast platforms.